Hello and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host Gary Morgan. With me, as always, my good friend Jim Stam. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, Gary. How can I complain? Look, we got Pirates are playing meaningful baseball. Um, we got a guest today who's returning. He's even rocking the Jared Jones chest hair for us. I mean, how could you not? You know, the life's good.
That's right. We got Taylor Perry from our partners over at ShopYens.com. He's here because he's going to announce the winners of the contest live here on the show, and pretty good stuff. I'm excited, and we're going to talk a little bit of baseball, and then we're going to let him go back to his family and have vacation time. So,
And you may
Taylor,
even
say hello
you
to
may even
everybody.
hear you may even hear some cool music in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mariah.
yeah. I'm sitting here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Here, a little bit family vacation. We do it every year, but thanks for having me on. And yeah, looking forward to it. A great little contest here last week, mid-season. Pirates got some meaningful baseball. Want to give away some prizes and have some fun on this episode. Thanks for having me.
Seth Johnson checks in. Long time no chat. Yeah, Seth, it has been a
Yeah,
minute, man. Welcome back.
Good on Seth.
So, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. We're not going to do a heel turn because Jim and I have never really gone negative or positive. We try to kind of talk about everything from all angles. But
it
it
is
is
what it is.
appropriate, I think, after the best part of 4 years of suffering. We have a team with 60 games left, and these fools are 2 games over 500, Jim. Like, it's starting to get real now, right? I mean, like, you get to that point, you're like, okay, 60 games would be kind of hard for them to screw it up at this point, right? Like they should be kind of in this through the finish line now, right? And they needed to go on a run, Jim, and they went on a run. You know,
Yeah.
10-3 in their last 13. That's what we needed.
Yeah, look, they're what, 1.5 games out of the wild card. Looks like there's about 6 teams looking at 3 spots right now. Maybe if you want to get generous, you could jump that up to about 8. But I mean, the Pirates are one of those 6. Um, you know, I'll tell you, if you don't think it's real, then you haven't been to a game lately. Because if you've been to any of these games recently, you can tell, like, everybody is um, excited and into it. The crowds were great. I was at one game for the St. Louis series, one game for the Phillies series, and it legitimately felt like playoff type baseball. So
It's a different
uh,
atmosphere. Even when it
it
was
really
half
is.
Phillies fans, it felt overwhelming, right? I mean, the place was jammed. So, Taylor, you have made it up and watched a few games. What did you
Yeah,
think of the environment?
I mean PNC Park's the best place on earth. I mean, you can't not have a good time there. But when we're winning, it's electric. I mean, even I can even tell. I live in Florida now, and don't get to make as many games as I would like to. But you can even tell from watching it on TV just how involved or how loud it is there, and how fun it is. The seats are, not sold out, but they're pretty full there, and the outfield is always a good time. So when you get to walk around there, it's just it's electric. I mean, and playoff baseball. I mean, not playoff winning baseball after the All Star break. We really don't get to see too much of that, and it's fun, man. You can't beat it.
That's part of why I think I wanted to make sure we started this episode this way. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about things they need to add, like Gregory has in here. 2 games over 500 to get another bat or two. Yeah, all that's true. All that's valid. We're going to talk about all that. But let's talk about where we actually are right now. They're 1.5 games out of a wild card spot. The Atlanta Braves were way up there in a protected looking spot in the wild card, and they're falling back to the pack, and they've got some pretty significant injuries too. The New York Mets, man, it's hard to not see them as a fraud, right? I don't know what's going to happen with the New York Mets. San Diego Padres, most likely to add just about every year in your high school yearbook. St. Louis Cardinals probably have to add. We only trail them by a game. And I don't know what's going to happen with them. Realistically, I think they're a fraud. They still have a minus 36 run differential. The Pirates have theirs worked all the way up to minus 6 now.
Yeah. I happen to think the Cardinals are going to fade, but the Cardinals are also not afraid to go out and make some moves, if for no other reason than their fan base kind of not only demands it but expects it. So
Yeah, I would agree.
they are going to be a better team down the stretch. What that means, I don't know. Look, the Pirates are playing all these teams coming up here that they are going to be battling. The Diamondbacks twice. I think they got the Padres twice. You're going to have divisional games. So not only do you have to worry about, like, can we improve our team? What are these other teams going to do to make it even harder on the Pirates?
Right.
So
I mean, Taylor, it's a
twofold.
unique opportunity right now with the teams that they have coming up. I mean, what did Ric Flair used to say? To be the best, you've got to beat the best. Well, they're playing all those teams, right? So wouldn't you want that situation? If you're a team that's on the fringe, don't you want to be playing everybody right in front of you? I think so.
Hey, build up momentum. I mean, I think that it's a huge momentum swing with, like you said, the last 10 out of 13 games we just won, but we just beat the Phillies, best team in baseball. You know, should have swept the Cardinals. We were right there. I mean, it's a huge boost right there. Then we go to Arizona. We got a tough stretch in games, but yeah, I mean, if we come out above 500 after these next 6 series, there's nothing stopping us. I mean, stay healthy and keep going.
I think too, like, what we're talking about here is opportunity, right? That's what you're talking about, and that you have that opportunity. And I think it's really important to be playing important games down the stretch against the same teams you are either going to try to beat out for one of those spots or face when you if you can get there. And it's because the Pirates have a lot of guys that haven't been in this situation. Right, you even the Brian Reynolds of the world. What experience does he have to draw on? O'Neal Cruz is another one. These are guys that, even if they're not young, they are young in the sense that they haven't had to play these types of games. So I say the more the better, guys, down the stretch. If you're going to earn it, you'll earn it, and earn it against the guys you're going to have to beat out to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's exactly the way I would want it to be if I was a player. So,
Right.
I mean, to me, that's the perfect scenario. I always love, like, in the NHL, towards the end of the season, you start playing that lump of Metro games, and everybody's right there all banged together, and you have a chance to fight your way out of it or fall back.
Sure.
And I love that. I love that that's the setup this year. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, I think it's time to announce our winners, right? Let's let Taylor go ahead and have the floor.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. It's time for our big Paul Skenes jersey giveaway here on the Pirates Fan Forum from our friends at Shop Yins. And who better to announce it than Taylor from Shop Yins, who is often too busy to operate his own business as he is traveling around and shuttling his children all over Christ's creation.
It's been a busy summer, but I'm ready. I'm ready for some playoff baseball here, and like I said, let's get some of our fans some prizes here. And what a better way than probably the best player that we could ever imagine on the Pirates, Paul Skenes.
I'm going to pop up the picture here so people know what we're talking about. Prize 1 is on the left. It's Paul Skenes and a Yins cap. Prize 2 is a Raise the Jolly Roger shirt and one of our caps. So, Taylor, who got prize 1?
Prize 1 is a big follower of the podcast. He had 3 entries. And thanks again for everyone that entered by going to the website and following us on social and a few other things. So I really appreciate that. But it's going to be Ryan Lytle
There you go.
for the
There we go.
Skenes. So Ryan, I know you want to call your shot already this year, so congrats, bud. I'll be reaching out to get your size, and I'll get you that jersey sent over. It'll take a week or two to get to you, but we'll make sure we get that jersey sent over.
Awesome.
And the inside,
Congratulations,
of course.
Ryan.
That's great. All right, prize 2.
And prize 2 is Nick Cicatelli.
Nick Cicatelli. Nice. He's a rather new follower, so that's pretty cool. Nice.
Yes,
and look,
he is,
Ryan's
so-
actually here. So
Ryan's
says
here. Let's
yay.
go. Hey, what's up, Ryan? I was hoping
That's how you
someone was
want
live.
that to work out, Ryan. You want
That-
people to actually be here.
That's
Good
cool.
stuff. All right,
Hope
Nick
to see you wear that at
Cicatelli.
PNC one day, bud. With the Yins hat.
Beautiful
And a mustache.
stuff. So thank you very
And a
much,
stash.
Taylor, for the prize. That's super cool, and I'm sure everybody's really excited about it. And go Paul Skenes, man. That's he is the talk of the town. I haven't really gotten to talk to you about it because last time we talked, I believe we had just kind of drafted him. So
Yeah, last time we talked, we were like, this rotation's gonna be a big problem. We don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna hit the ball like crazy this year, but we're not gonna be able to pitch. Look
So-
at where we are in July.
So,
before
Ryan,
you go back to your
or-
family, why don't you tell us basically, are you shocked that he got here as fast as he did? And what's
I
it
mean-
like having arguably the best pitcher in the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild to have someone kind of exceed your expectations when it was already so high. And I'm shocked that the Pirates let him get here that quick. I'm not shocked that he couldn't have got here that quick. I'm shocked that the Pirates let him come up that fast. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out how they're letting him run. They're kind of starting to let him, he just went through 8 in the third inning, over 100 pitches. So I'm not really sure how they're, going to start using him a little bit more consistently. But I love it. I love everything about it. And hopefully he just stays healthy and he's here for a long time.
Taylor,
I mean,
what
Jim,
do
we're
you-
back on the national stage, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I wanna go back and ask Taylor. Did you want Skenes or were you pushing for someone else? I don't remember.
I wanted Skenes, but I wouldn't have been upset if they went with oh gosh, what's his name? The outfielder.
Cruz or
It
Langford?
would-
Cruz
yeah.
from Cruz
Yeah.
from Cruz, yeah. But no, I did want Skenes because I remember the debut of Strasburg when he struck out all the Pirates. I was like, God, if I could ever have someone like him on the team, build a dynasty around it, and everything is pointing to him being better than Strasburg, which is wild. So
It's crazy to even be thinking like that, right?
yeah, no, I mean, and I love it. I love his demeanor. I love everything about him. I love what he brings to the city of Pittsburgh too, and his interview. I love his interviews too. I mean, he's calm, cool, collective. He's straight to the point. He don't beat around the bush. So hopefully, he turns into that leader that we need. Mitch Keller's still the anchor of that rotation. But even Mitch doesn't have a playoff win. So like all these guys will be learning how to play meaningful games together, and it's gonna be fun to see how they gel. And we have a lot of these guys locked up for the next 6-7 years.
Jim, I mean, it's all true. And it is true that everybody's kind of got their playoff and even down the stretch meaningful games training wheels this year, right? I mean, like,
Sure.
we don't really even have a whole lot of veterans that have been through it. You got Kutch. This is a different team. Kutch can't be the physical leader of this team anymore. So you have to have somebody step up and be that.
Do you
Look
think that's
around.
going to be? Oh, I was going to say, for trade deadline, do you think that's going to be a must for someone that we bring in? Do you think they have to have playoff experience and can hit the ball, or do you think they just want to get someone that can hit the ball?
Well,
You want
I
to take a
think
crack at it, Jim?
yeah, that's I look. I think like ideally that's what you'd like, but I think, and we're gonna talk about this, is the difficulty right now of trying to find your way through this trade deadline. That is one reason I have been on the Randy Arozarena train a little bit, because he does have that playoff experience. He's been on the big stage and he's actually produced. I think he's the type of guy that kind of likes those situations. It'd be something that I'd love to line up. I just, and I don't know if beggars can be choosers is the right way to look at it, but that might be tougher to accomplish than I think, like, that you might just have to go some route where you just upgrade and hope for the best too.
Right.
It feels like the big names don't have that experience this year.
There's very few.
And the big names are relative too. They're big because they're the biggest ones that are there this year. I don't see a whole lot. It's a struggle right now to find real targets out there. Like, I saw somebody suggest the Pirates were talking about Josh Bell. I think it was Jim Bowden. I don't trust him anyway. But Josh Bell is a guy that I can't even tell you right now I would pick him up off waivers, let alone trade for him. He wouldn't improve this team, and he wouldn't improve it in the right place.
Rowdy's been playing great.
Josh Bell is the most bizarre name that I have heard tossed out there for this team.
I understood it when Rowdy was was doing nothing. I understood it then. I didn't think he was good then. I didn't want him then, but I understood it then. I don't understand it now. And to me, I think it's just a name that people recognize. And there's another little theory going around that the Marlins want to package him in with Jazz, to make you eat his salary if you get Jazz.
I just read that too.
Aren't going to do that. I mean, like they might trade what they need to do for Jazz, but they're not going to be eating Josh Bell's salary. I mean, Ben Cherington already made the decision on Josh Bell.
How old is Josh Bell now? How old is he? Is he 30, 31, 32?
I would guess he's probably 32-ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just has, look, if Rowdy was the same Rowdy he had been at the beginning of the year, then okay, would he be an upgrade? Sure. But there's no fit for him at all. 31. Ryan says 31.
The only thing he would be a good fit for, and this is kind of the problem with like Brent Rooker, is DH. And on top of that, he's not hitting like somebody I'd want to play every day as a DH. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't see the fit there. I kind of think that people are just stretching for a name they recognize. And I don't like Jazz either. So, I mean, I'd take Jazz because at least I can see the talent there. But to me, you're basically just getting a more evolved prospect because you got to fix some things with him. He's not having a good season either.
You're talking Jazz.
I said Jazz, so I hope
yeah, okay. I think there's two ways to look at the Jazz Chisholm thing, which is he's not particularly having a great season. He's not. He's actually just even borderline average. But is he better than what we have been trotting out there as the Pirates? So I think those are the you can look at it either way. Personality wise, there's some things there. There really is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And Robert, it doesn't feel like the White Sox really want to let him go. At least not from what I'm hearing. I'm not even seeing anybody like close. He's not even in the buzz anymore. You don't hear teams like checking in. The Padres seem like that kind of team that would snake in and try to grab him. Why not? They collect everybody's former stars. The Mariners are struggling right now. They have a ton of pitching. They have no outfielders. They're going to be in the market. I bet they might make a panic move, something along those lines. They might reach for somebody. And I would think they would want to go somewhere like Rooker, somebody they're really familiar with and have played an awful lot. Then again, if they don't go for him, that should probably tell you a little something about Rooker, right?
Yeah. Here's the question too is, would people be willing at this trade deadline to make moves that may be asking other guys to take a back seat a little bit? Would you be willing to let Kutch take more of a back seat if you had to bring in a guy like Rooker? If you brought in let's just throw out a Yandy Diaz type that can play third and play first. Are you willing? I think most people would say yes with Hayes the way he's playing, obviously. But those are the type of guys that would have to take a little bit of a back seat, and are fans going to be okay with that?
I often think it's hard too at this point for fans to be honest with themselves. Like, you look at the team right now, nobody's considering second base. Nick Gonzalez has played well, but look at what Nick Gonzalez has done recently. Like, the last month has not been anywhere near as good as the month before.
Shouldn't be hitting cleanup either.
It shouldn't be, but like, he's got that kind of profile and he is picking up RBIs. So it's hard for me to argue that the position's overwhelming him.
It's the one place where he actually has still done okay with, is at least when he does get a hit, it seems to produce a run.
And he's playing good defense and everything. It's not like I want to move on from Nick Gonzalez. I'm just saying, if you really want to improve the team drastically, that's a position where you could go, okay, let's bring in that playoff veteran second baseman. Let him man the position the rest of the year. Nick will play, but he's not going to play every single day. That's the kind of upgrade you can make on a team where it's not real apparent. You know, third base, Brian Hayes. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care if he's playing with a broken toe or his back is going to snap in half. Whatever is going on with Brian Hayes, that's a guy right there where you should go, he ain't right this year. We can upgrade. That's an upgrade you could look for. I don't think they're doing that. I think we're talking about patching in an outfielder is probably what you're looking at here. Because a lot of these guys, they still want them to grow and they want them to get that playoff experience. You don't want Nick Gonzalez to have sat on the bench the entire run next year, do you? Don't you want him to learn that and feel it this year? It's kind of a double-edged sword. How do you make that decision?
Well, this is the problem, right? Like, it's so. I listen. I wouldn't want to be Ben Sherrington most days, but I really wouldn't want to be him this week, because I think, like, everything you try to piece together is difficult. Like, there's just, like, because nothing is, like, there is no cure-all. So, like, you've got to mix and match and pick and choose how you're going to try to do it. And then on top of it, you do work for the Pirates, and you don't have the type of resources available to you that other teams do. So, you know, it's just a very challenging thing. I wouldn't want to have to be the one to figure it out. You know, do you get guys in and ship guys out at the same time? I mean, that's a tough thing to do, but you might want to try to do it. Is Chapman somebody that you could foresee, you know, being one of those guys? Gary, I know we were going to talk about Bednar a little bit at some point. There's another one, Holderman. You know, but you kind of need these guys too. So,
right,
dude, it's tough.
Right, because like even things like, you know, Marty here says, you know, he'd unload Taylor, Grandal, Martin Perez. Matt Helmer says Triolo's dead weight on the bench along with Taylor, upgrade the bench. All true. You can do all that stuff. But if you're upgrading guys that are on the bench right now, you're not upgrading them with other guys that were bench players on teams that are so bad they're selling. Think about it.
Yeah, right.
You're getting somebody that is a starter that's going to come in here and replace your starter, most likely. It's going to make your starter, Nick Gonzalez, your new bench guy. It's going to make your starter, Brian Hayes, your new bench guy. It's going to force Connor Joe permanently to the bench. You get what I mean? So, I don't know, Taylor, you get one shot here before you go back to your family.
All right, so
who's your target?
Yeah, who would you like?
I would go outfield, and I would go with someone like Tommy Pham. Someone's bounced around a little bit. Short-term lease, pure rental. See what he can come in. I don't think we keep him next year, but to see what we can do. I don't know what he would cost, and I'm really curious to see what Sherrington's going to do, because our minor league system is pretty much all handpicked by him right now. So I'm curious how close he is with some of these prospects. Was he going to would he let a Bubba Chandler go? I don't see it happening. So what pieces is he gonna get ship out? I mean, do you get rid of Chapman? Is some bait, but he's been really really good recently, and I love our back end right now. So I wouldn't want to be Charrington at all right now. But if I would have to pick, I'd go outfield or I'd go catcher. As much as I like Joey Bart, he's still really young too. If we can bring in a veteran there, I would. I thought I wanted first baseman, but Rowdy's holding it down. Connor Dro's not bad. I mean, I think we can deal with it there. So, and I'm hoping Brian Hayes turns into Brian Hayes. He was the last end of the season last year and the year before that. He seems to get hot at the end of the year, right when the season ends, and then he never.
It's usually after he comes back from the IL. So
exactly.
Let's maybe not miss the fact that Ji-Hwan Bae was just added to the taxi squad.
Well,
because I'm kind of hearing in the background it's not Reynolds.
Well, I just saw Reynolds did go on the bereavement list, so
okay.
So now things make a little bit more sense about what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that is, obviously bereavement. So that's a shame, and hopefully he gets back soon. So,
I mean, selfishly, if his back was a problem at all, take the days, man. I'm obviously sad for your loss and everything, but physically, that might be a really good thing for him to get away for a couple days and kind of come back fresh for the stretch. I mean, he's been
a workhorse.
He's just been destroying it. He's been one of the top 10 outfielders in the league this year, I think.
Yeah.
So not defensively, as everyone will immediately jump to the chat and tell me.
Right. And just to put a bow on this conversation we're having and the difficulties involved in it is, I think when you look at it, and people should know this, because as they sit down and they try to do their fantasy trade scenarios, how many do you come up with that you actually think are legitimate and real and people don't immediately tell you no about? Because the reality is, this is a really, really difficult market to be trying to do this. And you can't say you want people and then you're not willing to give up anybody to get them.
I have some thoughts on that, but I think we should probably let Taylor go and then we'll come back and hammer them, because he could go on for another hour and then he's going to have kids that are hungry. So let's let him go. But Taylor,
thanks guys. Yeah, I appreciate it
for hanging.
Keep hanging out. Keep following the podcast. Follow us on social. We'll have another giveaway here soon. And if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear your feedback. Some shirts, anything like that. Let's get some more stuff out there.
Yeah, you can ask Yark. He'll even take design ideas. So good stuff.
I made some Henry Davis stuff to start the year. I'm kind of hesitant to make players ones.
It's your fault. It's your fault.
It is. I feel terrible about it. So sorry, Henry.
Well, good stuff.
Thanks, guys. Hey, awesome to have on. I'll talk to you soon. Go Buccos. See ya.
All right, Jim, let's take that break, brother.
All right.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. And honestly, congratulations to Nick and Ryan on the prizes. They're really nice. I hope you like them. And Jim, I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe why fans feel that way in a market like this, because we've had nothing else to look at but the minor leagues for 4 years. That's been the source of hope. And you're constantly looking down there, hoping and praying that you have something coming, and you get familiar with their names and you start paying attention to the minors, and and everybody's talking about the minors, even people like us, because we kind of have to be talking about what might be coming, right? There's really only so long you can break down Kai Tom's swing, you have to get to something like that. So of course, I think when in most places, like they sell off like their number 7 prospect. The fans don't really know who the hell that is. They're not thinking like we are. Like, oh my God, who are we going to have in 2029? Because we know we're going to move people. So,
Yeah.
you get
Well,
scared to see the pantry get dry again. I get it. Even our call your shot today has got a little bit to do with this. So, like, your thoughts on that in general, and people just getting afraid of losing anything.
Well, I mean, yeah, the fan base here has obviously been trained to have to pay attention to it because it's the Pirates' currency, right? And it's how they have to the fans have to look at it that it's going to have to come in. Well, hell, the Pirates say it. It's got to come from within. The majority of it's got to come from within. So yeah, you get to the point where you do start prospect hugging a little bit. My whole thing is the way I look at it though, Gary, is like you have to be able to kind of adjust how you look at that based on how things are going and how things are looking for the future. So like as you do that when you're in the early stages of what the Pirates were doing with this rebuild, yes, you have to stockpile, you have to do it. But eventually you're supposed to get to the point where you have stockpiled enough that you move things to fill in your deficiencies. And I would think, at least on the pitching side of things, you have to be willing to move some arms to get some offense in here. You have to be willing to do it. You just have to. It's about adjusting that mindset when it's necessary.
And it has to be a good match too. Like for instance, the Marlins have Jazz Chisholm, right? Well, we can give them arms. They've got arms. They got lots of arms. They got lots of arms they're not going to move. So I don't know that it has the same punch with them. Like, I specifically know they're hunting for a shortstop. Well, we've got like Lever Peguero and Chang we could offer up. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not enough to get that deal done. And could we toss in a pitcher? Sure, we could. Could we sell them that Termar Johnson's a shortstop? I don't think so.
Right.
Because he hasn't been. And again, the Pirates are pretty critically thin on offensive prospects on the way.
Sure.
So I'm not 100% sure you want to get into that game either. You got to find a team that wants pitching, man. And wants pitching that if they want pitching and they're in the dance, they don't want prospect pitching. They want here pitching. That brings up something that I have to do, and I don't want to do it because I know how you all feel about Anthony Filipponi and everything. But I got to have his back here. This Mayo and Bednar trade with the Orioles, I heard the same damn thing. Like almost 2 weeks ago, I put it in my DM chat for my website. So anybody from there could back it up. Like Michael and Bridge to Bucktober Josh and Ethan, they could all back it up that I was in there saying it. Now, I don't know that they've shut it down, like Pony said, and I don't know that the Pirates said no, and I don't know that those are the only 2 players involved. I just know there was that proposal. So would you do something like that, Jim? In the middle of a playoff run, would you sell off your closer for what is nothing more than a first base prospect?
It's interesting.
There, Michael confirms. Thanks, Michael. Now I'm not a liar.
It's interesting, Gary, because I think a year or 2 ago, I would have been very open to moving David Bednar. I don't think it fits right now, only because they are legitimately in a playoff race. And yes, they have bullpen guys. They really do. Like we've been saying it all year. We thought the bullpen could be a strength, and it has started to turn into one as the season has gone on. The problem is he fills a very specific role, and I don't know who you'd want to put in that, especially as you keep playing games that are so close and so low scoring. To me, it's just not the right time to do it. And Bednar has looked really good since the beginning of the year when he had all his issues. So to me, I'd look elsewhere. I don't know that it helps you enough right away, so I wouldn't do it.
I think that you have to probably consider some kind of a compromise like that, though, because I don't think there's enough teams that have things worth selling that really help right now that aren't going to require some kind of major league return of their own. I think if you want to do a deal with Tampa, you could probably get away with prospects for players. And you could probably get away with young pitching prospects for players. I think the Rays make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons as far as a trade partner goes. And they have some good players that I think could probably contribute pretty quick. Really do.
Yeah.
The Marlins, not so much. What they're looking for just doesn't line up, I don't think. Colorado, I get the impression, is really just going to hold their chips for the most part. And I think the A's are too. In fact, I don't even think the Rays are the A's are really making Rooker available. I've never heard the A's say they are. I've heard him be suggested by a million other people.
Yeah, it's connecting dots more than anything that aren't really even there.
Yeah, and here's like Mike saying Mayo is real close to starting. Well, if that's the case, and I really mean this, if that's the case, Baltimore wouldn't be selling him because they need a first baseman too. They're not going to be able to keep Mountcastle beyond this year. They'll trade him this offseason. I'm actually surprised Mountcastle isn't the guy they're trying to trade. So
yeah.
That's actually part of why I thought it might be true, because that's a better matchup.
It's funny. He says so many things that I almost don't just pay attention. I mean, Pony, I just don't pay attention anymore. So I don't even know that I had an initial reaction to it. Mike here says about, can Chapman close down the stretch? I mean, can he? Yeah, but we also know he can't at times. So is that really who you want to be putting in that situation? Is Holderman somebody you would consider moving that could get you a good return? I don't know. I mean, Holderman would probably get teams' attention. I can tell you that much.
See, I would think Carmen Majinski probably would, because he's really, really not very far removed from the starter pedigree. And I would think somebody might want to take a crack at turning him into a starter with his stuff. And I could see that being a play. Not that I want to move any of these guys again. You start getting attached to them, but you also can't continually say you want to improve the team and then everything's a stop sign. Like, you can't I don't want to give up Bubba. I don't want to give up this guy. I don't want to give. As soon as you start putting up stop signs everywhere, you'd be amazed how slow people drive through your neighborhood.
Yeah, sure.
It isn't what you want to do. I think with the prospects, though, where you kind of run into is like you buy a new car and you start fantasizing. If you're anything like me, you start fantasizing right away about how great it's going to be when you get that car paid off, because you're going to have a car that doesn't have a car payment, right? So you get the car and you finally have enough money to have the car, which for me didn't happen until I was like 35. But you finally have the money to have this car. So you're determined, I'm going to put money into this car and I'm going to take care of it the whole way so that when it's paid off, I've got a good car that I own, right? And then you do it. You get it paid off. You're happy. You walk around with the pink slip. You're waving it in your wife's face. Yeah, look what we did, right? And then 10 minutes later, your dad's on the phone telling you, if you want to get anything out of that car, now's the time to sell it. And I'm like, I just got done with my car payment. What are you talking about?
Right.
Well, if you want to sell it and make anything out of it, now's the time. You can go down and get half your next car paid off.
But I just got this done.
But I just got this one paid. And like, I think that's kind of how Pirates fans start to feel about these prospects and the system in general. It just started to look good. It just started to look like a pitching factory, right? It just started to look like things are turning around, and now we're going to go ahead and turn around and move that stuff out. Yeah, and you got
even
to be
people bring
patient
up,
too.
right, and even people bring up the Orioles, and they need some pitching, right? But like they're going to want pitching that helps now, just kind of like we want hitting that helps now. So even those teams, like how do you sort that out? When I mentioned Chapman, I'm sure the Pirates would like to maybe do something there. They could get rid of a little salary. They could, add, maybe have a team that really could use the bullpen help. But how do you make that line up? I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, last time we were in this position, like the mid 2010s, I didn't have this kind of prospect depth. So it wasn't really an option. I mean, you could sell like the couple guys you had that everybody wanted or thought was going to be good, but you certainly didn't have like 5 or 6 guys that you're pretty sure other people want, and a couple fringe guys too. Like there's still value in guys like, G1 Bay is easily a lottery ticket worth of a player. You know what I mean? He's a guy that brings some speed. You might think you could use him better. He's got some tools. He's done some good things in AAA. You can fix him. You might see a team like take that as a throw in. They're not going to take it as a feature,
Yeah, those are the secondary guys, right? That you put in to get something, the sweetener, I guess you would say, even if that's what you want to call G1 Bay.
Then I'd hate to damn Leo Verpagero the way we damned Nick Gonzalez, but he doesn't really seem like he has a place to play right now, does he?
Mm-mm.
So, he's a guy that you could probably interest somebody in. I don't know if that's enough for Miami. It might be, but it might be enough to at least satiate them on the shortstop thing, and then they'll take something else to fill the void and finish it out. But I just don't see that as a great fit, Jim. I'm struggling right now to find good fits.
It's
Washington,
really
to me, I still like Lane Thomas. I would take Jesse Winker. Tampa, to me, looks like the best fit. You keep saying that, too. I think Tampa's got 2 or 3 guys that I think the Pirates could be in on, and the Rays probably would like the return they'd get from the Pirates.
I think, like, in my ideal scenario, I am trying to get Randy and Diaz, but then you're adding a lot of money there that, depending on who is saying what, are they willing to do that? And I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money in Pirates terms. So,
like Melman here says, here's a novel concept. Instead of signing 4 or 5 guys at $3 million a pop, sign a guy in a better aisle. I would agree. First base, there wasn't a better aisle. I'm sorry. I still don't like Rhys Hoskins. A whole season has almost played out, and I still don't regret not getting him. In fact, Rowdy Tellez, one of those $3 million guys, has kind of been pretty awesome. So,
it's been a tale of 2 seasons, but as Rowdy the last 2 months has shown, when we were all ready to dig his grave and help him get inside, he's been as good of a hitter at first base, aside from maybe 1 or 2 guys in the league for 2 months now.
Veteran catchers, there was Grandal, who I wouldn't have considered. There was Kurt Cavalli, and Tucker Barnhart was out there, and he's since retired. So, I mean, to me, and Jacob Stallings was out there. I think that was another one that we considered. Jacob Stallings probably would have been the best signing out of all of them. I mean, he's hit this year pretty well. We already know that we like his defense. So, yeah, but he wouldn't have cost you more. He'd probably cost you less than Grandal. So, it's not always about money. I get why it comes up like that. It's not always that. Sometimes there just isn't a good store. There just isn't a good shop open. I just didn't
Right.
like any of the catching that was available. I really didn't like any of the first base. You and I were complaining about first base long before they signed Rowdy because there wasn't anyone, and we knew it. That sucks.
Yeah, it was the only reason you were even willing to, other than Santana, which that was a little bit of a weird situation. You thought that there might be a return visit from him. But other than that, that was really the argument, right? Why
Right.
not Santana?
Right.
So, you know, and I guess like too, Gary, like it's been interesting. Everybody loves Kutch. We've had Kutch here now before. We've had him here the last couple of years. But you could make an argument that this has made it more difficult on the Pirates. You know, and because that is a position you would hope that would be easier to upgrade, but he's still here, right? And he's producing, but you maybe could squeeze more out of that if he wasn't. So I think that's an interesting dilemma with him.
Probably could have. I would say next year, what I don't want to hear, what I really don't want to hear next year, I don't want to hear any false hope that he's going to be playing in the outfield. He's not. Stop
Right.
telling me that every year. Stop having Kutch tell me he wants to do it every year. His body will not allow it anymore. Let's just stop playing the game. Okay? Please stop saying it. He's a DH. Now, should he be a DH next year? I won't go that far because I wasn't sold this year. Has he produced and given us some good moments? Have I been happy he's in the room? Yes. I love having Kutch on the team.
Yeah, it's not that's not a black white conversation, is it? As far as it's a gray area to me. I just looked. Carlos Santana right now has a 769 OPS, so you know he's been good. That's the other reason I mentioned Yandy Diaz is simply because like he hits lefties pretty well. So if you wanted to let him and Tellez do their thing there and also be able to spell Hayes, that would be really ideal in my mind. So
yeah, it was funny
anyways.
because he really didn't last year. He really didn't hit real well right-handed last year for us, actually. That was odd. He hit better left-handed, and that was something he never really did. So it was
Right.
a strange situation. Point is, I don't think that there's anything great on the trade market this year. I think they'll find something and they'll improve. I think next week we'll be talking about some moves they made. I just don't necessarily know what they'll be. I've heard rumors. I'm going to go over the rumors because I want to make sure that I've covered them all. But these are just things that I've heard as far as like what they've checked in on. Not necessarily the list or the definitive list, but these are names that I have heard they've checked in on. Randy Arozarena.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you got something to say. Go ahead.
All right. No, I was just going to say, and remember the teams you're hearing right now that are looking for things that have more resources and more pressure in the sense of they're going to do something and they're willing sometimes to overspend to do it. You're hearing about the Dodgers. The Yankees are in a bit of a free fall right now. So now you're also competing with teams that are also willing to overpay if necessary. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, you know, could the Pirates do more? Absolutely, they could. But understand who you're going to be dealing with trying to keep up with the Joneses in certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely add an outfielder. I don't know about Pham. Somebody had said earlier, like, they don't know if we could keep him. After 60 games of Tommy Pham or however many, you won't want him, believe me, and neither will the room. This isn't a guy that I'm guessing at as far as, like, will he be a good fit for the room? He won't be.
Yeah.
You know, he isn't. Grandal isn't either, quite frankly. So, I mean, you get certain types of guys, you know what you're getting. That's what they are.
And speaking of catching, you know, I've heard people talk about Well, is that something we want to try to address? We want to talk about a position that's hard to do that, even in the off season, let alone right now. And I got to be honest, Joey Bart hasn't embarrassed himself. So I don't know that they could do a whole heck of a lot better, Gary.
I don't think they could do better than Joey Bart as far as really anything short of Henry starting to hit. And even then, I think they'd play Joey Bart a lot more, if only because their pitchers are so young. I think that's why they end up going with Grandal as much as they do. I wrote a whole piece about the catching position this week on Steel City Pirates. I was trying to basically discuss like why the Pirates keep insisting on having these old bastards come in here and catch, and like they can't hit to save their lives, So I'm like, there has to be something more than just, mythologically framing. It can't just be that. It's the only metric Grandal has that like you can measure. So it can't be something measurable. It's got to just be more intangible type things, right? So I dug into it. I talked to people, asked a lot of people. Outing efficiency is one of them, and they're using this one specifically with like Paul Skenes. Like they really want him to hit 100 pitches like in the 7th, 8th, 9th. And they feel without Grandal, he has a tendency to not necessarily follow the plan as much. You know what I mean? And Grandal kind of keeps him on plane, so he does what they want. I mean, that's that situation. As far as like game planning, everybody and their mother said he's great at it. I've never really heard this before. I thought the hitting and pitching coaches did that stuff. So that's news to me. But everybody unsolicited is making a huge deal out of his game planning, including Mitch Keller and Paul Skenes and Jared Jones. So hey, it's got to be a thing. And in-game adjustment, I've heard Mitch Keller say this. He picks up on what the hitting approach is real quickly. They adjust quickly. I think we see it tangibly on the field. You see a guy start out rough, and he tends to get them turned around pretty quickly in the next inning or two. Usually. Bailey Falter's done that several times this year. Paul Skenes even got rocked in the first inning that one time. Came out the next time, and everything was cool. Mitch Keller gets reeled back in quickly. There's different things that all of them do. None of this is enough to me to roster a player like this. This is a team that I think doesn't have the offense that you can get away with having anything glove first. And that's if I believe all this glove first shit that I just spewed that I think they're looking at for catchers. And it's clearly a thing. We've gone Jacob Stallings, Roberto Perez, Austin Hedges, Yasmani Grandal. Each and every one of them couldn't hit a lick. And we're here because they were such great fielders, right? They're making the pitchers better.
Right. And I think around the league, you have to look around the league too. Like, look, catching has become very much about the framing and whatnot, and teams are willing to put up with a lot of nothing at the catcher position. So, like, it used to be a time in baseball, Gary, where you said, give me, the 10 best catchers in the majors, and you could list a lot of guys that could hit. It's just not that way anymore, and that is not going to change with the current landscape the way it is with what teams value. The Pirates take it a little too far, I think, but it's
Greg. Roberto Perez was a multiple year veteran. It wasn't a guess that he was going to regress from his couple weeks of decent hitting and turn into what he always is. In fact, he never made another team ever again. So, I think he was in Boston for like a day. Like, he stunk. He was a defensive first catcher. That's all he was. He was Michael A. Taylor with catcher equipment.
I don't know if they've ever found his hamstring when it exploded. Did they? Did it ever even grow back?
No. And Robert Hagelin says, shouldn't a coach be doing this? I mean, some of it, Robert, like I told you, the game planning stuff, I actually thought the coaches did do that. And I'm sure they're involved in it. I think with Yasmani and other catchers, I think The best way I can do it is probably to describe maybe what Joey Bart doesn't do that they think Yasmani Grandal does do. Okay, so like when Joey Bart senses that his pitcher is no longer hitting the strike zone, like say everything is fading glove side, he starts setting up right in the middle of the zone and just calls his pitches away, up, down, everything. But he's going to set up right in the middle because he's trying to recenter his pitcher. And that works really well for some of them. It works for Jared Jones. It works for Bailey Falter. Bailey Falter's all about deception in his motion. So he can afford to get back to just hitting the glove middle to get his feeling back, right?
Sure.
It doesn't work for guys like Martin Perez or Marco Gonzalez who need their pitches framed because they're going to hunt edges all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a guy like Grandal needs that. Is good at that. The velocity from Paul Skenes throws off the umpires. So if you're reaching for balls, setting up in the middle and reaching for balls, you're going to lose him strike calls over and over and over again. That's why they want Grandal back there, so he can frame those 100-mile-an-hour pitches and like, that's a strike 99% of the time. That's the reasoning. Again, you don't have to like it. It's just the reasoning they keep doing it. I think Jason DeLay could do it. Like, that's my take. But they think there's something there, and I hear it from the pitchers unsolicited. And I mean in public, not in front of the team. Like, it's not like it's made up. It's just maybe isn't as important as they make it.
And the reality is with some of this stuff is you're never really going to quite know how much input is getting, done by certain people and who is taking the bull by the horns there. We're just not going to be privy to that information. So you try to pick up what the pitchers are saying when you hear them in their, post-game comments, or whether they do an interview for a story. And I really think that like they could just say nothing or pass over a comment, and they don't do that. They actually lean into it about some of this stuff. So to me, that's what you need to pay attention to, is like a player can not answer a question and just kind of gloss over it. But whenever they take a few, extra sentences to say that it has been important, well, it's the player. So you might want to pay attention to it a little bit.
Like Rob says, one of his favorite Pirates moments was Martin's framing in the 2013 wild card game. I mean, you laugh, but they would tell you he was a big reason that pitching staff came together and they were as good as they were. Again, I don't see the value in it, but I don't see the value in being somebody that likes to drive to the Outer Banks and buying an electric car. I'm not going to make it. You know what I mean? So like, I don't feel like stopping at the Sheets Breezewood for 3.5 hours to recharge on my way down. So to me, that's not a good thing. I don't want to go buy, but like, I see the value in it, I guess, if it means something to you. Well, that's the Pirates. They think this matters. At least this GM thinks this really matters. And I truly do not think you're coming back next year with Joey Bart and a locked-in second guy. I don't think they're going to decide before we get there who that's going to be. I don't even know if they've 100% decided it's going to be him.
No, well, you've got the Davis reclamation project is still in full swing. Endy's going to be back in the pitcher. So there's a lot to work out there. I keep hearing like people offer up Henry Davis in trade scenarios. I don't know what the sense in that would be right now. You'd be selling low, and I'm just not sure you would want to do that with your one-of-one pick who's only had about 300 major league at-bats. Like the Joey Bart situation was a little further down the road, and that's why I think San Francisco made that decision. So to me, it's just premature.
I think it's premature too. That said, is he any different than a prospect? Is he any different than a Braxton Ashcraft that you think is super, super ready to come up here and start contributing? Is
The
he
only
any
reason-
different than Bubba Chandler, who you think is going to come up and contribute next year, maybe?
The only
know?
reason I'd say, yeah, I think so is just because of where he was selected. Like there's some weight to that, like, you want to make sure if you missed on that, you'd want to make sure, sadly. Because and also, now if a team's willing to not treat him like his stock is low, that's a different conversation. And I keep hearing, like, Ryan, God bless you. I don't see many. I know there was just a trade today in the division, something minor, but I just don't see teams in the NL Central going to be bending over backwards to help each other out. I think that's a really tough thing too with Bellinger.
I wouldn't be shocked if Bellinger's got a pretty complete no trade clause too.
Yeah, I don't know what
I wouldn't be shocked by that. And really just not great. And then got Christian Yelich hurt. Boy, the top of the division starts getting a little bit more in play, doesn't it? I mean, like, if the Pirates continue to win series here, you have to feel like Milwaukee, that they're a little pitching starved, actually. They only have about 3 that I think they could really count on. They made a trade for Savali. I know he's worked out great against the Pirates, but everyone else he's not. So there has to be like some kind of a move coming from them to get some pitching. They might have to do something to get some kind of impact bat. They've got some outfielders, but without Yelich, he was really their feature bat out there. So I'm not sure what they're going to do there. They could fall back to the pack. Cardinals could fall all the way off the face of the earth. Who knows what's going to happen in this division, man? The Cubs, I don't know if they're going to be stubborn or if they're going to sell. They said they might sell. So, I mean, I don't think we're getting Bellinger, though. I don't think they're making a trade like that.
No, I don't either. And, here we are. By the time we do the next show, we'll have answers to a lot of these questions. What I would caution people is like, unless you're really willing to get in there and maybe overpay for some things, I wouldn't have like super high expectations. 1 being the market, 2 being the difficulty of finding said trade partners within that market, and then 3, the Pirates are only going to expose themselves so much to risk. So I would just caution people to say, if you want to get angry when it happens or doesn't happen, that opportunity is probably going to be there.
I'd also say, if you don't recognize the name coming back, give it a minute, maybe, because a lot of you didn't know who the hell Marlon Byrd was either. Nobody knew who J Hop was. Like, let's just kind of remember that we don't necessarily pay attention to all the teams super close. You might not really know what you're getting. Instead of talking about individual players that I think we can get, Jim, I think the best thing we can probably do is talk about individual teams that we should probably expect this to come from. I would think we're looking at Tampa, Baltimore on an outside shot, because I think there's a baseball trade opportunity with Baltimore. I really do. Like, I think you might be able to pry away like a Cedric Mullins for a pitcher now.
Sure.
Like, what if you could get Cedric Mullins for Bailey Falter? Would you do it?
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, that's something. Well, it's something you'd have to consider.
Well, those are the types of moves that I think that fall into the Pirates' wheelhouse, right? Like, that to me is a move that you can see them making.
They should, but how many of those types of moves can you count up on your hand that you've seen, right?
Probably
First,
not
the Pirates aren't usually in that position, and other teams usually aren't in that position. They're prospect heavy and want to move that. Well, the Orioles are making it pretty clear they know they're in that position. They'll move some major league talent. They've put a couple guys out there. Cedric Mullins is one of them, center fielder. Is he that much better than Michael A. Taylor? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Right.
He's hitting more home runs. I think he's a great fielder, but that doesn't mean he's a super good upgrade. But he's a major league talent that would be coming back for something that you have in spades.
And do me a favor.
That's what you got to do.
Right. And do me a favor, everyone. As soon as if something does happen, please don't go look at batting average as the first thing to whether you've just judged the trade to be a, a proper return or not, or whatever. Everybody's hitting 230 now. The whole league does.
Actually,
Like,
the league average I just looked is like 249 right now.
is it up that high?
Yeah, it's really
'Cause I
bad.
thought it was like 238 there for a while. But anyways, hey, do we have a call your shot we need to do before we get out of here?
We're good, actually. Taylor said
Okay.
we're good with just the prizes this week, so
Okay.
we'll leave
Cool.
it as it is.
All
But
right.
yeah, good stuff, man. I'm excited for the trade deadline to be over, and for a completely different reason than normal. I'm normally just like kind of like, okay, who all are we gonna lose? You know, where are they
Yeah.
all gonna go? This year, I'm kind of hoping that they have the balls to trade some of these veterans. They really should. You know, they really should consider moving somebody like a Martin Perez, or maybe even Marco Gonzalez if they could finagle it. Or
I was just thinking him. He might be the one, right?
yeah, I've heard some rumors about Aroldis Chapman. I've also heard they've backed off on it. So, and I can understand why. I think there's enough questions about David Bednar that you might not feel comfortable selling off your alternative back there.
Sure.
And he's been pretty good. And if this team's gonna win anything that matters this year, it's gonna be pitched. They're gonna pitch for it. So Ben Charrington made a comment that kind of struck me a little bit, where he said we're not shutting off like potentially run prevention as an addition too. You know, a run saved is as good as a run scored, is what he said. I think that's one of the crappiest statements ever in baseball, because no, it's not if you lose 1-0. So, and we just saw that the other day. So I do think that they need bats a hell of a lot worse than pitching. But I guess if the right deal came along, I'd consider it. Why not make a strength a super strength?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many names in the, already in there though. Like I just like I think they've got enough on that side. I mean, Jones is probably going to be back. Falter's going to be back. I really think that makes it even more difficult to add on the pitching side.
All right,
And
let's leave on a note that makes us look stupid.
Okay.
Besides us stumbling over each other, telling Ben to take over. Let's.
All right.
Who they getting? Top pick. Who's the top addition that you think they're going to get?
I'm gonna say they get Randy.
Randy Rosarena.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's maybe more wishful thinking than anything, just because it's the kind of guy that I'd like, but that's who I'm going. Who do you think?
I was going to say Randy, but my number 2, I think, is Yastrzemski from San Francisco. I think he's a guy that they might target. But
yeah,
I'm not a big fan, but I think he's a guy that they might target. He can do some good things with the bat. So and he hits in a very similar ballpark, actually, with short porch out there in right field, and does pretty well with it. So wouldn't be that bad of an acquisition. The thing to me is I think it would be another platoon, and I don't know that I necessarily need any more of that. I want somebody that kind of starts every day, and I think you can get that with Randy. I would go and spend whatever it takes to get Randy. I think that's the guy for me.
I think he's an impact bat that you could get without having to mortgage, your future to do it. So I would do that.
Yeah. I think it would take at least a top 5 and probably another top 10. And maybe even a major league piece. Like I could see it taking one of the bullpen pieces, like Majinski or something along those lines.
Sure. But I think that's why you got to try to get yourself in a position to be able to do that. I think they've done that with their pitching.
Yeah.
So
just weird. You got to be careful. You can't subtract at the same time this year. People aren't necessarily understanding that, I don't think. So
right.
Let's see. Next week we come back, we figure out how foolish we were, or how blatantly awesome Ben Cherington is, people will either be saying World Series or we're out of it by the time we're here next
There'll be
time.
no in between, none whatsoever.
All right. Hey, big series coming up here in Arizona. Let's have fun with that. Try to stay up, everybody. I think it's worth it this time for the West Coast swing. But
big
good
game.
stuff.
Big
Good
games
stuff.
coming up.
Jim, good show as always, man. And congratulations to our winners again, Nick and Ryan. Good stuff. Enjoy. Ben, take it away.
Let's go, Bucks!
Yeah, buddy. All right. See you, everybody.